Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the Toronto Regional Championship here in, well, beautiful Toronto. I am John Kettler, and here I have to the right of me.
Jeffrey Saran Rap Saran. Yeah, having a good time so far. About to start in round 5 of this great tournament so far. It's moving real smooth today too. I like the pace of it. Getting the job done today.
Yeah, I feel the same way, where once you get past a certain point in the tournament, things start moving along pretty consistently, pretty efficiently, where these Pokemon card tournaments, they can actually last for a pretty lengthy amount of time. Usually, the rounds are 50 minutes each. The number of rounds you can have can be upwards to 9 like we have for today. But actually, yeah, it's been pretty smooth, pretty quick. Have you seen anything that's excited you other than the two decks that we have on today for this round?
Yeah, definitely. No, besides the two decks we have right now, I mean, every matchup so far has really, increased my passion for the expanded form right now. A lot of people say they don't like it, but a lot of the different strategies we've seen so far really excites me and almost want me to go out there and just buy some cards and just start playing myself because there are so many, like the Gengar Vileplume deck. While, yeah, she still lost, that strategy and the way that deck was built was phenomenal.
Yeah, I felt like I was saying something similar a couple rounds back where I mean, granted, there's a lot of frustrations that people can have with the current formats. I mean, no format is ever going to be perfect, and of
Hmm.
course, there's always going to be some sort of broken card or combo. But the neat thing about Expanded is at least it's simultaneously evolving while the people who are working on it, they're really careful in terms of what they've been getting rid of in
Hmm.
terms of toxic cards, cards that are bad for the format. Because when you break it down, the expanded format isn't a Japan made format. It's really a US made format, an international made format in a lot of ways. And so it's going to take a new touch and a lot
Hmm.
of sensitivity to be able to make it what it can be.
Absolutely there, and I think these players are also all getting the best of it there. We've seen last round with the Pikachu Zach round getting its notability there with the big haymaker we saw between both games there. We've seen Hitmonchan Wob, we've seen Vileplume, a lot of we've seen the Archie stories as well.
Hmm.
So a lot of different decks there. And then we saw a Alolan Executor,
Yeah,
you
Alolan
know.
Executor, Gallade, and that's the interesting thing is that despite the variety of cards in the expanded format, for the most part, we really haven't seen that many stage twos. And usually, if we are seeing the stage twos, they're going to be some sort of alternate method of putting them into play. Like,
Yep.
I mean, like Archie's Ace in the Hole, for
Yep.
example. And it's debatable whether or not you could call Rare Candy that since you're still running a functional stage two
Yeah.
deck. But yeah, not a whole lot of stage twos, but the one that was on stream was pretty good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching that match there. I mean, that Galley deck was I still got a headache trying to keep up with all the different moving pieces from Stellar Wish to Premonition, Instruct Premonition, a lot of different moving parts, and still, whew, big old loop in my head right now.
Okay, deep breath, deep breath. All right.
Woosah.
All right, so if I understand right, you instruct when you have 20 cards in your hand, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
That
right.
seems like the most effective method, to be honest, with the
Okay,
Wobbuffet active as well.
smart call. Very true. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the matchup we got going on right now?
Yeah, let's see if we got our players with their headsets on right now. Okay, looks like we're good to go. So we have a couple really interesting decks here. One you've already seen is this hit and run Hitmonchan deck. Did pretty well in the first round, but the really interesting variation here is this Garbodor, Latios, and Latios GX deck. So we have seen in tournaments past the two Garbodors run together. So we've seen Garbodor shut off abilities with Garbotoxin. We've seen in addition to that, Guardian's Rising Garbodor deal tons of damage with Trash Avalanche for 20 times the number of items in your opponent's discard. But now we have this new addition here, Latios and Latios GX, being able to deal big damage, big OHKO damage with its Buster Purge attack,
Mm-hmm.
and Arrow Unit GX being
Yep.
able to attach tons of energy too. So we have some strong attackers, and we have the start of the game right here.
And it looks like Zach's gonna get to go first here. And the players that we have going on, it's kind of a little bit of Zach attack action. We have Zak Turchansky versus Zack Lesage.
That's right, Zach mirror match.
And it looks like, yep, we do have right in the active spot Latios and Latios Tag Team GX. Is that a Fighting Fury Belt right there? Yeah,
Yes,
Fighting
sir.
Fury Belt with the Double Dragon Energy to attach. Double Dragon being a really strong utility card. We saw that with the Alolan Exeggutor deck earlier in the rounds. Being able to take up 2 energy slots for your Dragon type Pokemon.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting inclusion in a Garbodor deck is one of the tools of choice where usually what you'd probably see in most variants would be some mix between Choice Band and Floatstone. Here it's just as far as the utility tools, the damage dealing tools, we've got Fighting Fury Belt. So it's taking using Latias and Latios GX really seriously. It's using it is a primary attacker. It's not just a side attacker. It's about as serious of an attacker as Drampa GX was before, only it doesn't really rely on a whole chain of combos or anything like
Hmm.
that. It's just dealing a bunch of damage.
Yeah, and right now we do see a let loose Mars Shadow on Turchansky's side here. Gonna shuffle each player's hand into their deck and draw 4 cards. It may really disrupt Lesage here, but it looks like he might have a double Karina. It looks like. But going on to Turchansky's turn, we'll go T and L. Maybe that might be a little easier here. Mysterious Treasure. What do you think he's gonna grab here?
Well, let's see. I don't think we've had our supporter played yet, so at this point we're just looking to.
Good
Let's see.
call there, right there on cue.
There's our setup right there. Not to be mixed up with Shaman's setup, but we've got a supporter pull here in a little bit to help Zach to the left. Zach, our Garbodor Zach here, get some cards, get some stuff going on here, chain more stuff so that ideally he can get not just one, but maybe two Trubbish into play so he can have both ability lock and
Yep.
Trashalanche at his disposal.
One of the good things here also is kind of convenient is that while Zach has that buy barricade ability, it stops all abilities. But however, if you're the second type Pokemon, you can still use your abilities. So right now with Let Loose, it's still able to go through, and also now Wonder Tag, being able to go through that buy barricade ability. Couldn't see what card was just played there. I'm assuming that's an Acrobike, just by the way he's holding the cards there. So I'm assuming because the Acrobike that was played, discarding a double Dragon Energy off it. So that other card must have been really valuable for him
Yeah,
to do that.
that's a pretty rough discard. And the inclusion of the Acrobike is something very different in Zach's list. He runs only 2 copies of Acrobike. I've found in my experience as far as lists in whatever format you've seen Acrobike in, item card, look at the top 2, keep one, discard the other, that if you're going to run a very speed intensive card like that that runs the risk of destroying your resources, you either run max or you run none. Zach's running 2 here, 2 copies, so that I think he can go ahead and thin his deck out a little bit, maybe add an additional amount of draw. Uh, what do you think? What do you think as far as being able to put a couple in versus 4 or none?
I'm more of a 4 and none guy there, but I can see like in this kind of format here where there's already a lot of thinning as it is, those extra 2 stretch cards in this type of format doesn't hurt. To go to that to get that extra last piece you may need, especially in those end games after you've done your compressors, which looks like he does run a heavy compressor engine. Could get those last few pieces that you might need. And with him running Marshadow Let Loose, it could compensate and get to those extra cards after putting himself to 4.
You know, we've been talking a lot about Zak Turchansky's list, but looking at Zack Lesage's list, he's got a couple interesting options here too. It looks for the most part a pretty straightforward list we've seen from the Hitmonchan decks, like the one you saw in round 1. I don't think Stefan was using Gumi though, was he?
No, no Gumi or
Yeah.
an Oricorio as well. Those are 2 inclusions that Lesage has over the previous list we were just mentioning there. But other inclusions like the Adventure Bag that we were mentioned that we saw in that game also that he has counter catcher in this list, however, and an Energy Lotto.
Yeah, and the Gumi from Forbidden Light is a very big deal, being able to increase the cost of your opponent's attacks by 1 if it's active. So lots of synergy, lots of great combos you can pull with Hitmonchan, literally hitting and running every single turn. And the Oricorio is a great metagame call. I bet Zach was really familiar with what the other top players were choosing, and so he was thinking to himself, okay, I see a lot of Night March. Let us go ahead and preempt the rise of Night March by running Oricorio.
Yeah, he definitely had the right meta call there. It was, a lot of the top players are at the different top tables right there with Night March right now. So having that Oricorio in his list is definitely going to help mitigate that matchup there. But he was able to get 2 Hitmonchans out, a second Wob, and Enhance Hammer away that only double Dragon Energy. So let's see how left Zach recovers from that.
Well, to be honest, I don't really like the the amount of recovery that we have going on here when we've already lost 2 double dragon in the first turn,
Mm-hmm.
and with only so many left, I don't really know if that's going to be as impactful this game. Like I think you want to be really conservative and careful with those double dragon energy, and just seems like he got caught in a couple awkward situations at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a weird spot there. But he does have the Garbotoxin in play now, being able to shut down all abilities. A little bit more of an upgrade from Bide Barricade. And yeah, there it is. That Arrow Unit GX
That's
you
right.
were mentioning to start of the game. He's going to be able to, looking through his discard pile, find 5 basic energies and attach them anywhere he wants. Active, bench, wherever he feels necessary.
Yeah, so we might have even had those double dragons function as a little bit of a red herring because Zach knew that he was going to be able to use Arrow Unit GX later on and just set up multiple lethal attackers all at once.
It's going to hurt a little bit here to have to do 240 to a 9EX attacker and only
Yeah.
take 1 prize off of all that effort right now. It's going to hurt a little bit there, but hopefully in the next coming turns he can set up that tool drop Trebush or get Trash Lance out to really start taking more effective 1-versus-1 knockouts there in the prize race. Karina here, looks like he's eyeing down a Hitmonchan, and let's see what item he grabs off of this here.
Now, one thing that's pretty interesting
What is
here.
that?
What's that?
Fire card.
What is that?
Was that a proxy?
I think that was, and you know what?
Hold on.
And you know what? I think that is something that, and that's something I'm really curious about. Maybe we can look into that a little bit.
That was a proxy fire energy with some handwriting on it.
I think, and let me explain what's going on with situations like this, where sometimes people's cards get damaged. And I think that's what Zach is showing, not just his opponent, but everybody else, is that computer search of his probably got bent at some point. Remember, these are old cards that we're working with. The judging staff, they decided that, okay, the special circumstances allow special rulings, and so in this situation, the judges are allowed to proxy certain damaged cards. And so that's what we have here is we have an unbent, perfectly fine fire energy. There's no way you can mix it up with anything in the deck, and we just know that it's computer search because, hey, there's writing on it, it's computer search, everything's fine. It just confuses people at home a bit.
I've definitely not seen that before, so thanks for that information there, because that's a interesting little tidbit there. We do see a Guzma here to take out one of the Hitmonchans here. Buster Purge about to bust up that Hitmonchan right out of here to the discard pile.
Yeah, with what is that, like 150 overkill?
Yeah, it's quite the drastic punch there.
160 overkill with Fighting Fury Belt.
Oh yeah.
But hey, I mean, you get your prizes however you can, and the very encouraging thing for Zak Turchansky is that while he only has 1 field blower, Zack Lesage only has 1 focus sash. So we're in a situation where there's maybe 1 awkward spot where Zach will miss a knockout, but that's the absolute worst case scenario. So it looks like these Trash Avalanches should be hitting for clean one-shot knockouts just about every turn.
Yeah, there's definitely enough items in this card to do that here. And how heavy this Latios is, it's going to take a lot of hitting here to get to a point to where you can actually start doing stuff here. But we do know single prizes, and we do know that Zack Lesage does run Nihilego, so maybe at one point here we could see a return Buster Purge right at him.
That's right, although the prizes would have to be exactly 2 for that to happen. But yeah, I could see it as plausible. And with that sitting there, I mean, it's a threat. Like, Zach's own Latios can be a liability.
Exactly. So we do go into Turchansky's turn. We do see a Lunala Prism Star. So that's another way that this deck can recover all of its energy back to reload for another Buster Purge attack. You know, one of the thoughts here initially was to see Malamar inclusion with the Latios team tag team there to recover all the psychic energy. But their 2 outs here are through the GX attack and through Lunala Prism Star to be able to search the discard pile. For every Pokemon your opponent has in play, you can attach psychic energy to it.
And now that Lunala is just as threatening as the Latios was earlier, only in this situation, the Lunala is a non-GX Pokemon, so Zack Lesage is not going to be able to benefit much off of it with a knockout. I'm seeing overall this matchup to be pretty unfavorable for Lesage, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And one thing to note with the Lunala as well, it resists fighting. So that extra damage that are coming off that strong energy for Hitmonchan is null and void.
Right, and so at this point we have a spot where Zach Turchansky's deck is not very reliant on abilities. So even with Bide Barricade coming into play, we've got Garbotoxin out there too, so it really isn't that big of a deal. I mean, the typical game plan for Lesage to disrupt and exploit the weaknesses of other decks just doesn't really apply
Hmm.
here.
Yeah, it's definitely more of like a meta call matchup right now, deck type thing right now, as far as wanting to hit those Zorax, wanting to hit those Pikachu Zekrams, and running into this deck. Unfortunately, there's going to be a little bit of hitting a little wall in his way right now to get to that day two. But I'm sure he's figured out ways to get around psychic matchups before, so let's see how he adjusts here. Nest Ball, going to search for an additional Pokemon to go straight to his bench here.
And hey, maybe that's one way around it is Baby Buzzwole is a very, very powerful card, being able, once once your opponent's down to 4 prizes, being able to deal plus 90 more for Sledgehammer. So does Lunala Prism Star resist? Yeah. Does Zak Turchansky still have all of these very powerful psychic attackers? Yeah, but at least that response knockout can put Zack Lesage back in the game.
Absolutely there. And then, with the help of Beast Energy as well as Muscle Band, he can get to that point of, should be able to, yeah, 150, 160. No, he'll still be short even with Beast Energy Muscle Band. So won't be able to one-shot it. But I think right now Zach's at a point where he's just going to slowly just keep KOing with Lunala here and just kind of run through Zach right now if he can't respond here quickly. I do see a Prism Energy come down on the Baby Buzzwole. He is in the Sledgehammer turn now to be able to do that additional 90 damage.
And with the teammates, Zack Lesage has got litany of options, but it's tough to say exactly what he should go for here. Probably thanks to set up response KOs later on. But one thing that I do kind of like is a way to get himself further back in the game is by attaching that Prism Energy to the Wobbuffet, it's now an asset as opposed to just a liability. It's not just sitting there not being an offensive threat. You deal
Mm-hmm.
it's attacked as 10 plus 10 for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So the math is pretty straightforward there where you bring up something like, I don't know, say Sledgehammer Buzzwole, deal big damage, let the Buzzwole get knocked out, and then follow up with the Wobbuffet for a knockout of its own.
The Wobbuffet used to be a core attacker in a deck a few seasons ago, Wobbuffet Bats, which
Hmm.
had synergy with that there to be able to have the sneaky bites, place damage counters across the board, and let Wobbuffet do that additional damage with his attack, 10 plus 10 there. But so seeing it used here is kind of bringing back a little bit of old memories there with the Wobbuffet
Oh,
Bats
yeah.
deck a little bit.
And that's the amazing thing about the expanded format is a lot of these cards are very old when you really break it down. Like the Garbodor Garbotoxin has been around for well over 6 years at this point.
Hmm.
Bide Barricade Wobbuffet, that's been around for almost as long.
Yeah.
So these are some pretty old cards, but they find ways to be revived and even have the same strategy rehashed in different ways. Like Hitmonchan is not really a new deck, just punching and running into something else.
Yep.
You've seen attacks from other Pokemon all the way back to Donphan and even further, and Hit and Run works the same way as your typical punch and run deck.
Interesting. So he used the Field Blower to get rid of his own Floatstone as well as the Shrine of Punishment here.
And I'm wondering what abilities he wants to use here by getting rid of his own
Well, he
Floatstone.
has a full bench,
Yeah.
so I'm curious what additionally here he wants to. Okay, so you compressed another compressor, so no more of that happening.
Yeah.
So what exactly is in his hand that he wanted abilities?
Well, he might be thinning out to get something. I mean, that's why we had a little bit of that battle compressor inception going on. Battle compressor on top of battle compressor. So, well,
So he's letting. Okay, interesting.
we got a clean knockout, and it seems like Zach's looking to get a knockout in response in a little bit.
I think so. I think he's assuming that this Lunala is going to get knocked out, and now it's going to open up a space for him to have a chance to use the Pokemon with the ability afterwards, like a Lele, to go around by barricade, and I think that's what he's preparing for. But Versier coming down, going to going to grab a teammate here to keep chaining those. And let's see what he gets off of this here. He only has one attacker left here. Looks like he grabbed an N for next turn. And what else are we looking at here? He does already have the Nihilego in hand, so I'm sure it's going to come down here to get ready for the next turn after Turchansky takes another KO. I didn't get to see what his other card was. He did draw off that teammates, however.
Right, neither did I, although I feel like we're pretty much in agreement with how this is going to go from the next couple of turns, where Zack Lesage is giving himself some options to be able to disrupt his opponent, but also notice that that Hitmonchan actually has a second attack. I believe it's Sky Attack.
It's Magnum Punch.
Magnum
I called
Punch.
it
Okay.
Sky Uppercut in round 1, and
Yeah.
I have corrected myself since. So
Okay. Well,
it
we're
is
we're in
not
the
Sky
same boat
Uppercut.
then. Yeah.
It is Magnum Punch.
I guess I was thinking of Pokemon Go with Sky Attack because that's a really good
Sky
attack
Attack
in there.
is a
Yeah.
very good attack there.
Oh yeah, but at any rate, yeah, it looks like he was setting up that. Okay, good. And we've got
Got some Lost Zone placement. We need to bring Drew back to the judge area. Make sure we get that in the right Lost Zone area.
yeah.
And there we go.
Ah, there we go. Yep. There's our knockout. Get a little uncertainty about what to go up. Maybe that was a premature field blower on his own floatstone, but on the other hand, he needed to get that Shrine of Punishment off the board. And so that second part of the play was just a little bit of a like that seemed like it was a tougher call in a lot of ways. But he's still got plenty of knockout options, plenty of ways to keep up momentum. And oh, by the way, Trubbish from Plasma Blast is a really viable, strong attacker, dealing 20 times the number of total tools in play. Yep.
Yep, very good talk card there. I think there was a Mega Manectric Garbodor deck that did well in Worlds a few seasons back that had a couple of tool drop Trubbish in there to pull off some unique plays.
Yeah.
And there, we're talking about the Wonder Tag coming down because of that Floatstone is no longer on that Garbodor and going to be able to get a supporter.
But hey, who needs Trubbish when you've got Garbodor dealing Trash Avalanche for a bunch of damage?
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of items in there for that Trash Lance to really take down this Oricorio.
That looks like an alternate art Guzma, if I'm not mistaken, or is it?
I can see Guzma, Erica's.
Yeah, I had to have a little guesswork going on there. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of guesswork with all those new alternate arts coming out all the time. League, new sets, and we've got that knockout here. And what could have been a really lethal attacker in a fully charged up Magnum Punch. Hitmonchan just was not to be. But we've got the Nihilego, just like you were talking about, coming down and can copy any attack on Zak Turchansky's board if Zack Lesage has the right energy.
So we do see a Mysterious Treasure coming down, discarding the Juniper. Gonna, I would assume probably grab the Let Loose Marshadow potentially there with it. I'm not sure because now he has the abilities back and maybe wants to slow his opponent down. Interesting enough, I think he pulled a fighting type Pokemon to the top. That was a Mysterious Treasure he played, so he shouldn't be able to grab oh, it's a Gumi, the Dragon type. So Gumi, the color there kind of threw me off a little bit of the card. So Gumi coming down here, gonna try to make him work a little bit more to attack there with the Garbodor.
Wouldn't you love to see a situation where Zack Lesage just brings up something with high retreat, has expended a lot of the resources on Zak Turchansky's side of the board, and then just results in this bizarre situation where, because of the ability on Gumi increasing the cost of the attack, it's just stuck and it can't do anything. I mean, I doubt that'll happen, but it would be great if it did.
Yeah, no, definitely there. You know, I'm sure Zach still has a few more Floatstones left in his deck right now. He does play 4 total Floatstones, and I think we've only seen 1 so far. So I'm sure he's going to be able to get out of that kind of situation there. So
get out of any gimmicks.
Exactly there. So I'm just curious how Zach's going to pull this off now, bringing Gumi to the board. I'm sure he hasn't picked up his cards yet, so I'm sure he has some strategy in line to bring himself back into this game. All right, we do see a retreat here, and he's going to bring up that Gumi. So it's going to force Zach to commit another energy to that Garbodor to do that Trash Lance attack.
Although the real question at that point is, okay, well, so what if that happens? Where, I mean, granted, I would love it if that were against something a little less threatening, maybe something that just deals a bit of damage, but let's go ahead and I would have loved a chance for Zack Lesage to just like flash through his entire discard pile so we could have known exactly how much Trash Avalanche will be doing, but that's a really lethal attack, no question about it, against everything on Zack Lesage's side of the board.
Absolutely there. We do see number 3 of the 4 Double Dragon energies in his deck. And a Parallel City taking his own way out. Probably going to take out both those Lele's is what he looks like he's eyeing right now. Or the Marshadow 1. Interesting there. Okay, so Double Dragon, 2 to Latios. And then, all right, it looks like Zack Lesage actually scoops this one here.
And probably a good call because with time dwindling down, you don't really want to mess around with that too much, especially since every point counts. Literally every point counts in the tournament. So remember, while we have 5 rounds left, when we're looking at people who advance into day 2, Zack Lesage is in a really commanding position right now. So he's got 12 points. He needs about like 18 or so, maybe 19 to make. Yeah, definitely 19 to make day 2. So that
19 for
tie is
sure.
actually pretty helpful.
19 for sure. I think with the size tournament, we might have some 18 squeak in potentially. I don't know yet. We'll see how that plays out. But I didn't actually hear the final number of participants for Masters.
I think it was about like 350 or so.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance that some 18s might squeak in. So that's 6-3 right there. So we'll see. I mean, they're not at that point right now. They're both undefeated right now, and wow, they're setting up fast.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'm not sure. What do you think Zach can do this next game 2 here to really kind of take himself over top in this matchup?
Well, I mean, I really liked what he was trying to do at the end of the first game. He was trying to set up multiple attackers. He was setting them up in creative ways where that Wobbuffet suddenly became an asset as an actual offensive power. The Hitmonchan was going from just a like meager little like punch and runner like I tapped you to like actually, hey, I can actually deal some damage to you later on.
It's more of a flick and run before the punch.
Yeah,
run,
exactly.
So, not gonna do much there.
It looks like we got the action back.
All right, starting with Zach's turn there. Do see Wobbuffet in the active spot, Floatstone, Hitmonchan on bench, and then a Cynthia. Shuffle your hand to your deck and draw 6 cards. Let's hope there's some good ones here for him. See a Prism, Diancie to the bench, Nestball. All right, this is definitely a more brisk start for Zach here in this matchup. That proxy card really threw me off last game. I did not know that ruined, so I was like, oh no. He left his test cards in there.
And that's actually possible. Where something that lots of players do who don't own all the cards they need is they will actually use literal proxies with basic energy and write on them the name of the card. So that has happened to players before, and that has happened to high caliber players. But fortunately, that wasn't the case here. It was just a little more unfortunate that Zack Lesage's computer search got damaged, so now he has to play with fire energy and have that awkward conversation every round.
Those cards aren't cheap either, man. Computer searches, those cards are not cheap right now. Arguably the best ace spec to use in expanded, so everybody wants them. But passing over to Turchansky's turn, we see a Floatstone to the active Trebush. And there is a Tapu Lele Wonder Tag. Gonna search your deck for a supporter and put it in your hand. He hasn't played many other cards so far, so I'm pretty sure he's going to have another type of like Cynthia type card possibly there. We'll see, though. We'll see what all he has in his hand.
Yeah, whatever he ends up getting, though, from Zak Turchansky's side of the board, I want to see more Pokemon in play, just period, for Zak Turchansky. Because right now, with the Diancie, with the Hitmonchan, it's instantly more threatening Zack Lesage's side of the board than it was last game, where he's going to be dealing a lot more damage a lot more quickly. And I think that really just comes down to luck of the draw. He's actually going first this time, makes a bigger difference because of that. And because of that, we're going to probably see Magnum Punch a turn early. We're going to see everything a turn early. Although, to be fair, Devil's Advocate in Counterpoint, I don't want to see too much energy on a single Pokemon when you need multiple lethal attackers all at once.
Yeah, absolutely. There, especially he uses so much special energy, and you don't want to commit all those to one Pokemon, especially one as fragile as Hitmonchan.
Oh yeah.
So and that's weak to Psychic at that. We do see the Cynthia here, and Zach does bench the Lunala Prism Star. We saw he had a lot of success with that in the last matchup here, and opting to retreat right into the Lunala here. I guess he's thinking right now, hey, Hitmonchan's not hitting me for too much right now. I kind of find this Trebush more valuable to slow him down, so let's save that there. So quick 30s, Shrine of Punishment's out. Going to start putting that extra damage on the Tapu Lele. That was a really quick turn there.
Yep, and Resistance had already applied to counteract Diancie Prism Star, so we're just dealing a clean 30.
All right, so looking at Zach's hand here, I do see, I think that's the new Art Field Blower. I believe that's what threw off Kirk and I last time. But it's also a Computer Search and the Parallel City, paralleling Zach's bench to 3 is what it looks like, the blue side being the one that limits your opponent's bench to 3. And then we see a Computer Search going down, discarding 2 cards from his hand, can search any card in his deck and put it in his hand.
That's right, and I like the timing of that parallel city because when you're dealing with the stadium war where you're trying to have your stadium stay and your opponent's stadium go away, it helps if you are the person who's playing your stadium second, or in the alternative, if you're the one who's playing resources to get rid of stadiums second, where in addition to actually running parallel cities, we have copies of Field Blower, for instance, and so that's a way to keep those shrines of punishment off the board and keep that parallel city on.
So Zach did battle Compressor 3 Psychic Energies here, and just now versus Secret for a Cynthia. So I'm hoping he's probably going to try to look for another Psychic Energy to use Lunala to bring back those energies and load them up and do that same strategy we saw last time to just kind of sweep through Zach's side here through his attack.
And we've got multiple lethal attackers going on, and that's the great thing about combining Lunala Prism Star with Latios and Latios GX is that these are two really self-reliant Pokemon, but they also play off of each other really well, where both of their attacks are accelerating, both of their attacks are dealing a ridiculous amount of damage once you actually get set up. So huge energy cost, not that big of a deal.
So it's definitely a punishing attack there as far as what's called a Psy Storm, do 20 times the amount of energy across everywhere. So every time your opponent attaches energy, that's just making that Lunala extra 20 damage stronger. So we do see another just hit and run here. Just a quick 30 and right into the Wobbuffet without Floatstone this time.
Not even anything helpful to follow up like an energy somewhere, just stuck with that one Prism energy.
Is very unfortunate for Zach right now, not really able to hit the pieces he needs for his matchup. But we do see a Mysterious Treasure on Turchansky's side, discarding the Ultra Ball. It's kind of funny there, Mysterious Treasure, discarding the Ultra Ball there, get a Pokemon. And let's see what Psychic or Dragon type he grabs here. And there is the Garbodor with that Garbotoxin ability.
And going back to that point about Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Ball, for Zak Turchansky's list, I like the splitting of the two because with all else equal, if you're running a mostly psychic energy, psychic type deck, you're going to want to run the Mysterious Treasure emphasized. But having a couple Ultra Ball is a perfectly fine idea too. Because
Absolutely.
Scrolling down the list, I only see those two, Latios and Latios GX, as non-psychic Pokemon in the deck. So for everything that is psychic, the two Ultra Ball work as a supplement for consistency and setup. And for the Latios and Latios GX, it's actually a way to fetch them. So it's a good deck building decision by Zak Turchansky for sure.
Absolutely there. And, you know, also that aspect there, being able to thin out extra cards there. Because Mysterious Treasure can pull out the Psychic and Dragon types there. And then being able to thin with Ultra Ball is always a good resource expanded. I think that's the biggest name in the game in expanded is being able to thin your deck out. Because how fast you fly through decks, you need to be able to hit those resources in the end. Mr. Mime coming to the bench, however, I guess another Pokemon to pivot to kind of take damage for the time being from this Lunala Prism Star.
Oh, man. And with the Skuzma, it's just getting worse. The one energy that Zack Lesage has had on the board for pretty much the entire game is now about to go bye-bye. And it looks like just through a little bit of the flicking of the hand on Zack Lesage's part, he's in a dead draw situation. That's unfortunate, especially since there's so many cards in Expanded that let you draw more cards, but that's just luck sometimes with the game.
Did you say he was in a dead draw situation?
I think that he is because he was flicking his hand a little bit so he could barely see it for a while. And
what team is he on again? Dead Draw Gaming.
That's right.
I was trying to get you there. I was trying to get you there.
I liked it.
I was trying to get you there, and then it wasn't Kaya, but we got there.
No, we did. Yeah, hey, it's meta dead draw because I dead drew the reference to the dead draw.
You just got me there.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
see, this is how we make our comebacks.
I'm in dead drawception now.
Dead draw inception, battle compressor inception. What is going on?
And then a Buzzwole with the Sledgehammer came in here and got the Lunala Prism Star. Is what we just kind of missed there.
Yeah, well, we got that energy that Zack Lesage desperately needed. So,
but now there's no attackers on Zach's on Zach's side here. So, curious what's going to happen here off this. What's that? An N? So like an N to 4 for Turchansky, 5 for Lesage.
Man, and if I'm on Zak Turchansky's side, I don't like the variance involved here because with Floatstone in play on Garbotox and Garbodor, he might hit something perfectly fine like a Tapu Lele Wonder Tag, but he might not actually really be able to take advantage of it. because, hey, can't use abilities. Although another thing he could do is leave that active and just bait a knockout.
Mm-hmm. And that Buzzle does have a Focus Sash on it as well, so Turchansky's going to need to hit a Field Blower here as well to get rid of that, or figure out some easy way to ping it so that when he does come in with that Buster Purge or Trash Lance later on, he can actually one-shot knock it out. Scary thing is here, even if Turchansky had a double Dragon Energy in hand, Lesage was prepared with an Enhanced Hammer to get rid of it right away. So with this slow like game that's going on right now, if Zach could just kind of hit and run and work his way back to it, they got to be fast attacks.
Yep.
They got to be fast attacks because these Pokemon are heavy. They got a lot of HP. He can still come back in this one. Remember, tag teams, when you knock one out, that is 3 prizes.
That's right. So effectively, when you knock out a tag team Pokemon, tag team GX, you are half of the game done. But at the same time, I don't foresee that Latios and Latios GX getting knocked out anytime soon. It's going to be able to take at least one hit, even if it's a admittedly really, really strong hit.
Mm-hmm. You got to remember, he's hitting a Sledgehammer right now. So so that's doing 140. And then after now the Dynasty 160. That's 2 shots on this Latios right here. So he's going to have to really KO this Buzzwole quick to get him out of that Sledgehammer turn.
And I'm interested to see not just what Zach's going to do right now, Zak Turchansky, but how he's going to go ahead and marshal everything that he needs to set up the next attacker, because I almost feel like and we've got a little bit of clarification here on the secondary effect of Arrow Unit GX, where, remember, when it's just one single energy, you get the load up of all the energy for its main effect, but you get the secondary effect of prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to Latios and Latios GX. So
this
big damage, but pretty good side bonus.
This is the rough thing here. I'm not sure if he had a water energy in his discard pile. I think I remember him attempting to compress one earlier, but now that Zach Ultra Enhanced Hammer that double Dragon Energy, he's going to have to find a psychic water energy to be able to do Buster Purge now.
Yeah, and I wish I could make out a little better what is in Zak Turchansky's hand to see if he has that follow-up, but by losing the double dragon, and I think what you were suggesting earlier was that water energy is probably prized. So assuming that, and that's a big assumption, but assuming the water energy is prized and we have double dragon in the discard, then his outs are a little thin, but this isn't too bad of a situation. I'm looking at this from the worst case scenario, and the worst case is either that, I mean, there's no way that Latios and Latios is getting knocked out this turn. It's barely getting pinged by that Shrine of Punishment if it's in play now, so I'm not too worried about that if I'm Zak Turchansky.
All right, Let Loose coming down here. So Flow Stone to the active Baby Buzz. Let Loose. Both players are going to draw 4 cards, and let's see what comes out of this here. You know, we got strong energies on the board with both of the fighting attackers. We do now know that there's not going to be a Focus Sash on this Baby Buzz because he attached a Float Stone to it. So let's see what cards kind of come out of this Let Loose here.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that there's a reasonable possibility. I mean, like, we had a chance to briefly see Zak Turchansky flip through his cards.
There was a water.
We didn't see the energy, and now this is just what I was talking about, where because Zack Lesage anticipated it, played the Let Loose, now Zak Turchansky has what he needs when he didn't have it before.
Yep. So he actually just opts not to attack at all. And he's doing like a little organization of his bench here.
Yeah, and I like that conservative play there because he's setting himself up for a situation where Zak Turchansky needs a lot of cards, and Lesage inherently knows that in order to win this game, he's going to need to have a bit of attrition going his way. So he's going to need to deal big damage, even if that isn't worth a one-shot.
There's some mysterious treasure reception now, and I'm gonna get a second type here. Probably gonna grab another Trubbish if he has it available, and then. But we did see there the the Let Loose got him to his water energy. He's gonna be able to do that Buster Purge attack on this Marshadow.
Yeah, which is admittedly kind of a gross Pokemon to have to do Buster Purge on, assuming you even have to do it, because, I mean, with only about 1 or 2 cards in his hand, Zak Turchansky doesn't have all the cards that he needs to be able to follow up with something better, but at least it gets him a bit further ahead. And more importantly, deactivates the extra damage on Sledgehammer.
Yep, absolutely there. So 3 prizes now for Zach. Like you said, negating that Sledgehammer turn now is going to go back to that 30 base damage. But with the strong energy and the Diancie, he is at 70 that he can hit with, as well as the Hitmonchan. So let's see. Computer search there, dropping a Wobbuffet in Oricorio. He has options for teammates, what it looks like, and he's looking at Karina as well.
And I like, in theory, the idea of getting a Karina. That way he's chaining future consistency cards together. But at the same time, I don't know if that would be enough, where it looks like Lesage is going to need multiple cards every single turn to be able to deal the damage that he needs to.
So he's still fanning through his deck right now, trying to see what's the best cards to grab here. I'm not too sure what exactly he's going to get. So he's using a strong energy. I didn't see the card prior to that, but he already has a Floatstone set up there. I'm not sure how many are in a discard pile, so I don't know if he's going to be able to pivot back into like a Wobbuffet. Let's say he might just be pivoting to that Buzzwole now, since it can't really do too much damage. But it still has 2 energy on it. It can get to the other attack it has, swing around, and still hit for some massive damage as well.
Right, and eventually set up that Latios and Latios GX for a knockout. And what I would like to see is, no matter what Zack Lesage decides to do this turn, to attack with something that isn't going to leave his entire board vulnerable if it gets knocked out.
Ooh, counter catcher.
I like that. I like that. And we've got exactly enough damage with the Hitmonchan to be able to hit and run and do just that. So he's making Hitmonchan more of a threat, while at the same time scoring a knockout and forcing Zak Turchansky to have a Guzma or some way to bring up one of those threats to knock out one of the defending Pokemon.
Big thing to keep in mind right now is that Shrine is still ticking away at those 2 Pokemon, waiting for his chance to. I mean, that's 2 strong energy right now to Hitmonchan, so 1 more strong energy, if it's possible there, can get that Magnum Punch to, what, 70, 90, 110, 130, Diancie 150. It's going to creep away here soon and really start hitting him for some hard numbers.
Oh, yeah, and I feel like Zak Turchansky has, for the past couple turns, been a Guzma off of just being able to go insane, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
Because if he had the Guzma, and, well, maybe I'm right on cue, maybe not. Let's go ahead and...
yeah, he doesn't have the energy to knock it out, but he does bring up something heavy there where Zach's going to need to Floatstone.
Yep, that's a different application of Guzma that can also be an effective strategy. Defensive Guzmas, as we might call them, where you play Guzma, bring something up, and just leave it there and hope that you can avoid a knockout or something else. But just right on cue, Zack Lesage has the Floatstone. He was ready for that. He was ready to play that Floatstone when he needed it.
Yeah, he had that piece already ready there for that Diancie coming up here. And we do see, like I was saying before, the 3rd energy coming down for the swing around attack, potentially here from the Baby Buzzwole to really start hitting some hard numbers on this Latios Tag Team GX. Okay, Energy Lotto, Enhanced Hammer, another strong energy as well. So even Hitmonchan the following turn can hit some strong numbers. I don't see a Guzma, though, so... I'm curious if Turchansky were to retreat this active Latios after he gets hit here. What is going to be another option there for Lesage?
So it looks like we're getting a swing around here to get some additional pressure on that Latios and Latios GX. Heads,
one
heads. Let's see if we get another heads. And
Double
2 heads. Okay, big damage right there. So... Yep, and we just heard our players in background say, sounds good to me. It doesn't sound quite as good to Zak Turchansky, though, to have all that damage on a Latios without the Shrine of Punishment countered.
Luckily, there's a Fighting Fury Belt, though, a Fighting Fury Belt there to help. He's just scooping.
Yep, not a bad idea when you're running out of time and your board is looking, for lack of another better word, awful right now. So it's a good idea. We've got a little bit of time left, about a little less, a little bit more than 10 minutes. So I feel like both of these players are really hungry to be able to get this to a win. Zack Lesage not nearly as hungry for that win. I mean, granted, both need it
Yep.
because in addition to be able to make day 2 with more overall points, again, that's 3 for a win, 1 for a tie, and 0 for a loss. You need that to be able to advance to day 2, but at
Yep.
the same time, you still need as many points as possible to make top 8 of the whole tournament when you
Yep.
already have advanced to day 2. So every win counts. For Zack Lesage, though, it's not as big of a deal.
Absolutely there. And I fully agree. And I think that's kind of in his tough spot is while we are limited on time, Zach doesn't have the pressure to really get those quick prizes, as well as on the flip side, Zach has to take 6 prizes, or Turchansky has to take 6 prizes against him there. So it's kind of like the back and forth where it's going to be really tough for one player to take this matchup here. However, I mean, we saw the start of Zack Lesage's game there. It was a very slow start to him, and maybe Turchansky take advantage of that, or vice versa.
Well, I have a hot take here. I think that we're probably going to see this match go down to a tie, but the tie is probably going to be a result of something weird like a defensive Guzma like we
Yep.
saw in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is instead of a float stone automatically being there, it'll just stick.
And it looks like they're just about done setting up here, getting their prizes going, and we're going to be going on to Game 3 with Turchansky going first. Lunala Prism Star in this hot spot right now.
And that's the best hotspot to have a Lunala Prism Star right now because you can load that thing up with a lot of
Yep.
energy. It's really bulky. Really nothing in Zack Lesage's deck can easily deal with it. So that's going to be a couple quick prizes right away.
And right off the bat, you see Mysterious Treasure discarding a Psychic Energy right there. He's going to build sort of Psychic-type Pokemon. And one of going to go for the early Let Loose to apply that pressure on Zach again like he did Game 1. But we'll see what he goes with here. Got the Trubbish.
And not going to lie, I could have gotten on board with early pressure let loose because that might be the easiest and best way to create a situation where you flat out win Game 3 with so little time left where your opponent dead draws and then you just wipe everything off the board. But I think Zak Turchansky can find a different way to get to a similar result, just as long as he has all the right attackers ready to go.
Absolutely there. So we do see what I think was an N or a Judge. We'll see what players shuffle in their deck. We'll see how many cards they draw to understand what supporter was actually played there. That glare maybe get a little tough. Looks like it was an N. Okay, it's a cool newer full art N. Coming out here. Both players drawing 6 cards. And all right. Do see another Mysterious Treasure here. We still have a chance to see that Let Loose play. I'm sure Turchansky wants to get a few more Psychic Energies in a discard pile.
Agreed, yeah. And although one thing I would like to see a little bit more of is, well, a little more confidence in the plays because with how little time is left, you can't really afford to overthink things. You can't really afford to second guess because each and every single one of those situations is going to eat time off the clock. And if Zak Turchansky wants to create a situation where he actually flat out wins this game and doesn't tie it, then he's going to need to, well, move a little bit quicker and not be like, oh, let me go ahead and think about this. Just go for it.
Yep, absolutely there. Mysterious Treasure for the Wonder Tag for Tapu Lele. I got ahead of myself there. And then he just passes. On to Lesage's turn here. We see a Prism Energy, a Rescue Stretcher, Wob, Choice Band, 2
I don't
Energy.
see a whole lot in his hand at all.
There is nothing going on in his hand. Nothing.
So he just doesn't know where the energy is going to go.
He might be Psychic Assaulting here for a little bit here. Oh, no.
Yep, and you even heard it in his voice a little bit here, just a little bit of a resigned pass. Where
All right. So if you're Turchansky right now, you need to put the foot on the pedal and go.
Yes. Like let's go ahead and go freeway speeds here. I don't know what they are in Toronto, but where I'm from, they're about like 75 miles per hour on the highest freeways. So let's go 75. Hey, let's even go like 80 to 85.
Yeah, I think you're safe.
Just don't tell the cops.
Over, yeah. Just be nice to the cops.
Cynthia here. Be very respectful.
Cynthia here, going to shuffle his hand, draw 6 cards here. We need a couple more energy into the discard pile to pull off that Full Moon Blast attack. Full Moon Star, sorry. And be able to bring all those energies back to him. But he's only going to be able to bring up 2 onto that Lunala. So 1 attach and maybe 1 other to the discard pile. I'm not sure. I think he only has 1 so far.
And he's got a computer search in his hands so he
Perfect.
can. And Acrobike maybe coming in clutch.
Yeah, I think that's a second energy.
Yeah.
That's a Pokemon there. But he has computer search for Compressor. Like so that's got to be the move. Attach psychic energy compressor.
This is, I mean, guys, I hope you don't get offended when you hear me commentating about this once you actually look at the video later, but please take a little less time. Where it's like, I mean, maybe they, and I see
Interesting.
I see the
Okay.
rich one. What do we have going on here?
Interesting. He just discarded the psychic energy there, and he's going to need 4 to be able to pull off Lunala's Side Storm attack there. So I wonder if he has another psychic energy in hand, because he's only going to get two.
And
two
there's that
energies
battle
out here.
compressor.
I'm not sure. I am not sure how this one's going to go here. Maybe he's expecting to draw one again after this next turn, but I'd rather have the guarantee.
Yeah, me too. I mean, when you just saw a draw pass, an effective draw pass from your opponent, I would like to see more pressure. I mean, maybe this is broken record mode right now, but give me damage. I like damage. Damage is cool. That's one of the exciting things is when you have big damage going on the board, and it's like I just want that Lunala to get charged up. If I'm Zak Turchansky and I want, like, if I'm in that situation, I want to see knockouts ASAP.
I think that's the second energy as the far left card in his hand. I'm not sure, but Zach doesn't have anything going on. He just drew a Focus Sash.
He can maybe deal like 10 if he wants.
He's probably one of the bench of the Pokemon that kept him is one step closer, and he has Rescue Stretcher, so this is looking really unfortunate for him right now.
And if Zak Turchansky planned this right, he should have an energy in his hand. So at this point, I'm just going to attach Knockout.
Yep.
Don't even bother wasting any time doing anything else. And I feel like that VS Seeker, all of this is extraneous action that's getting in the way of being able to do that.
He didn't hold the energy. He didn't have an energy. So
that's right. He discarded it.
He's banking off of this Cynthia right now. And if he whiffs his psychic energy, part of me wants to see the punished, but part of me also wants to, like, get there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm battling myself right now. I don't know what I want.
And we have some crazy stuff going where if Zak Turchansky whiffs the Garbotoxin, I can't believe I'm going to say this, it could create a situation where if Zak Turchansky doesn't get 2 energy, then that he can attach to Lunala, then it's possible that the Gumi could reduce or could increase the cost of the attack. But we've got the energy, it's moot point, gets that knockout, gets there. And we have the look through of the discard pile with the thought about which Pokemon to bring up. And what was that top deck? It looked like, is that a mysterious?
So
no, that's a Guzma. It's a Guzma.
So we might see what you were talking about before, kind of those stall Guzmas potentially there. He doesn't have many items in discard pile, so he probably doesn't have a problem pulling up the Trash Garbodor.
Oh, no, not at all. And if I can turn a effective draw pass game into a tie, then that is lucky as sin. But also pretty well planned at this point. Where I think Zack Lesage has already passed.
I saw a Virtue come out of that top deck there. So he's gonna just Guzma right back, taking out that Gumi.
Well,
he's gonna need an energy actually to do that.
Yeah, in order to get up that, because the remind me here with Gumi's ability. Does that apply only to Pokemon with costs of 2 or less, or does that apply to just the overall cost of the Pokemon?
Let me go ahead and confirm that for you real quick here. I thought it was basics has additional attack cost. As long as you act the Pokemon, your opponent's Pokemon attack 1 colorless more. So regardless, is 1 colorless more. So he will need 5 energy on the Lunala to knock out that Gumi there. I didn't think I see an additional energy in his hand.
And I think we might actually see an awkward spot where so we've got the VS Seeker for the Guzma.
Does he have Garbotoxin in hand to negate that?
I don't know.
Okay, there's the Ultra Ball.
There's the Ultra Ball, and it's good to be better safe than sorry, because if he gets that Garbotoxin, then he's going to avoid that as an issue entirely.
Okay,
good.
Cool. We got there. All right.
Because the last thing you want to have happen in a series this close is to Guzma up the Gumi, to ignore all of that, and not attach your 5th energy or not Garbotoxin. But at the same time, we just have to get there in the sense like you got to play the Guzman. You got to go ahead and get the knockout, and that's what he's doing, and he sets it up. So we see the promotion of the Wobbuffet and the drawing
we do know
cards. So
he has the Rescue Stretcher in hand.
Yeah.
Was that an N he just drew? I think that was an N he just drew.
I think it was too. Yeah. And so there's no doubt in my mind that Zack Lesage, so time's going to be called now, and we've got turn 0 on Zack Lesage's side. So for Zak Turchansky's favor, he's got at least 2 knockouts here, but if Zack
If,
Lesage finds a single basic Pokemon,
yep.
this is going to be a tie.
Yep. So he's going to thin some cards out in his hand right now, so that way this end could be fully effective. Hopefully get another basic Nest Ball,
Yeah.
Ultra Ball. There's a lot of different outs for Lesage here. So, but we've seen it before. You can break in the Pokemon game right now, and he's been doing it he did it the previous game here. So we could maybe miss a basic Pokemon here.
Although, you know what? I mean, let's be real here for a second. I did not foresee any possible situation where Zack Lesage was going to win this game quickly.
Yep.
Unless Zak Turchansky just drew dead.
Okay.
And there's our basic and there's our tie. And so that's what Lesage is trying to communicate. I guess Zak Turchansky's just going to go ahead and get a couple knockouts just to have that consolation. And there's our tie.
Yep, there's a tie.
Yep.
Oh, well, I mean, I think we know, like, if that game would have went the distance there, it would have been a little bit of a different effect. But, luckily there, Zach was able to get that, Lesage was able to get that end, that last turn before turn 0 started, and was able to get one additional Pokemon on the bench to solidify that tie in the last few turns there. But definitely an interesting game. Zach was able to pull it off that game 2 to come from behind there and really, take that second win there. We thought it was a really tough situation for him.
Yeah, but he found a way to turn what seemed like just an on paper bad matchup into a tie, and that happens time and time again in these 50-minute best 2 out of 3 formats. Is that if one player is able to push that second win, then it creates a virtually unwinnable situation in Game 3 where both players are trying to struggle to do their best.
Yep.
They're going to work as hard as they possibly can to get there, but with about 10 minutes left, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, and I'm still curious. I want to ask Turchansky what his thought was on that one play where he computer searches away his only psychic in hand.
Yeah.
And instead of attaching there and kind of banking off that Cynthia, I'm curious what the thought was. Maybe we missed something there. Maybe there's like a certain value in his hand that he needed to keep outside of discarding that there. But outside of that, I mean, both players played extremely well. And I think, obviously there's Zach being able to pull off that poor matchup there and getting that round 2 or game 2 win. Real effective there for both players.
Right, and with that, it looks like we might be having an interview or two pretty soon.
All right, we'll come back with you guys here in a second, okay? And we are back with a quick interview with, unfortunately, a tie here from Zak Turchansky here, running what he calls Lati-Us Garb. Adorable name, by the way. I like that. Very well played. Talk to me about it. What was kind of the theory behind this deck?
Yeah, so this is a deck that I've been working on for the past couple weeks with Daniel Kong, a guy from Toronto here. And the idea is that we didn't you see people playing Malamar with these cards, but we really like the Garbodor line because it's slightly more disruptive. Trash Lunch is really well positioned. It's really good at taking these big GX knockouts, especially against some of the tag team decks. And one of the things so normally people use Malamar to accelerate energy. We just went full Battle Compressor, use the GX attack immediately, and then hope that's good enough and then finish games off with Trash Lunch. And then so it's really nice. It just hits really good numbers like against Pikarom and Zoroark. Hitting for 240 is really good and expanded.
Yeah, you played out really well there. Being able to do the Aero Unit GX, 2 times now, and then also do as in a Full Moon Blast with a Lunala Prism
Yeah.
Starry Whale also load itself up to kind of start sweeping her down Zach's board there. So do you have any matchups that you feel you do not want to see at all this weekend?
Yeah, so like Night March is hard. I tied Isaiah Williams last round.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the one prizer decks are hard. Like I'm really interested in taking 2 or 3 prizes at a time. If I can do that, I'm golden.
Yep.
But yeah, some of the one prizer decks that can run me out of resources, because my deck actually doesn't have a ton of ways to recycle its resources. Discarding 3 energy every time you attack is actually pretty hefty, especially if you're not playing something like Malamar like I am. So yeah, if the Hitmonchans are okay, because basically everything in my deck one-shots them.
Yep.
But yeah, certainly stuff like that's not what I'm hoping to see.
Definitely doesn't feel good discarding 3 energy on a Pokemon that only has 30
Yeah,
HP.
3 energy, take 1 prize, you're Wobbuffet. Like, okay, punch you.
Awesome. Well, good luck, your next couple rounds here.
Thank
Appreciate you hopping on the stream here, and good luck the rest of the tournament, okay?
Awesome. Thanks very much, man.